Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we are gonna do a project on basic calculator. In our last video, we did a project on form validation and we have seen how a form can be validated using JavaScript, HTML and CSS. I got a few suggestions from people saying me to include more details about the JavaScript or the HTML and the CSS about the installation of various things. So in this video, I'm gonna go into a more detailing about different things that we are gonna look into the project. So the things which we need to know before doing this project are basic HTML, like we need to know about the buttons. How do we write down our buttons? How do we use our table? I'm gonna use table for this particular project. So we need to know how we include rows, columns, and the heading, everything in table. And also for different icons, I'm going to use Font Awesome icons. I'm going to show how we download them and how we use them in our HTML code and everything related to Font Awesome, how we style them and everything. And also we need to have the knowledge of radial gradient. I will be using this for our background color. So in order to have a different variation of color. And after HTML, we'll directly move to JavaScript instead of CSS because I want to do the basic calculations at first. I want to do all the operations related to the calculator in our JavaScript, and later on we could style them. So coming to JavaScript, we need to have the knowledge of DOM, which is Document Object Model. So DOM is usually to access the HTML code in our JavaScript in which where we can use other operations on those HTML elements. So we need to access the HTML elements so we could operate them. And then we need to know the ES6 arrow functions for like I'll be writing some functions for my HTML code. So we need to have the knowledge of those. And also in this project, we need to know string methods, which is actually very important. Like what are different methods of strings and how we use them in our project. And also we need to have the evaluation method, like how it helps us in calculating. Evaluation method is actually used to do the operations in JavaScript. Moving on to CSS, we need to know the properties of hover. When we hover our cursor, like how do the CSS elements act, and transition for which property. So transition is usually used to like know for which property and for how much duration our CSS, our styling will be there for that particular element. And coming to flex, we need to know the property of flex, like if we put them on display flex, how it would react and how we could center those things and align those things and everything. And also box sizing, which is very important. We need to see there are two types, like content box and the border box, and you need to know the difference between them and what do they imply much. And also the color, the text color, the background color, and everything. So these are the basic things which we need to know beforehand before continuing for our project 2, which is basic calculator. Now let's move on to our project. Okay, so I've already created a folder with the name basic calculator, in which I have included the files index.html, styles.css and app.js, and also I have included Font Awesome icon folder, which I'll be showing you how to download and how to use them and how to style them. So don't worry about it at present. I'm going to show you everything. So as you have already seen in my last video how to create the index.html, styles.html and app.js files by just creating the new file button over here. So then coming back to our index.html, if I press shift plus exclamatory mark, I would be getting my metadata HTML or my raw HTML. For this you need to install the extension emmet which is also a Visual Studio Code extension. Visual Studio Code is actually very cool, so that's why I would usually recommend Visual Studio Code. So again, coming back to my title, if I'll be changing my title, and if I'll be using the basic calculator, we could see the title if I open my HTML with live server, which is another extension of my Visual Studio Code. Here we could see that our HTML, that our website is having a title with the name Basic Calculator. So this is how the title is gonna affect our web. And coming back to our project, we are gonna design a calculator in this way. So here you could see all the buttons and everything. If you are hovering on them, how they are having this transition slowly, and the division, multiplication, and everything, the equalization, decimal. If I'm just using 7 into 8, and we could see that our button, like we are getting the output over here, and if I just use this but thing, it's like everything goes off, and if I'm typing some particular number, if I'm using backspace, I can take off the last digit and everything, and that's how it's a basic calculator. So we are gonna design it right now, so get ready for everything. So coming back to our body, first of all, I'm gonna create a class of name container, and then I'm gonna create a table. So you need to know the basics of table, for how the table is designed and how we include the heading rows and the heading rows and the columns, space, and everything in our table. So if you're having any doubts or if you're not able to remember anything, you can always refer MDN or W3 schools to refer to any particular element or any other CSS property or anything. MDN and W3 schools are really good to refer. It's not like you can't by heart everything. You just need to know the logic or just practice. Maybe sometimes it's just practice that you can remember things, but mostly it's just like you have to refer to different websites to know how it works sometimes. So coming back to our table, the first thing I'm gonna define is my table row. I'm gonna go by table row. You can also go by column, but I'm gonna go by table row because I'm gonna have my first input in a row, and in my row I have to insert the data, and for my data I would be inserting an input with the type text, which you could see here that we got the input, and I'm gonna place a placeholder for my input, which you could already see here that we are having a 0, and for my table data I'm defining it for a column span of 4, because in our basic calculator you could see that we have 4 buttons in our row. So actually, okay, so this one is a row, this one is a row, so I'm defining this whole input covering these 4 rows, so covering these 4 columns. So we have like 1 2 3 4 5 6 rows, so we are going to define 6 rows in our table, and also we have a heading over here which we could define at the end. It's not a big thing to define a table heading. So I have defined already my column, my first row for a column space of 4. Coming back to the next row, my first table data would be a button with the name AC. So a button AC, which we got it, and I'm gonna give a class for it, not the class. Oh, also, since these all are buttons over here, I'm not gonna use event listener for JavaScript. It would be a waste to write the event listener for everything. I'm just gonna use onClick in my HTML itself would make it very easy to follow any functions. So on clicking any, if I'll be like on clicking this button, it should have this following function. If I'm like, so this button is usually used to empty the field. So if I'm like writing 854 here, so this button usually empties it. So you could see here that it gone. So I'm gonna place like write a name, a function for it, which is called remove, maybe remove. So on clicking this particular function, so this particular button, see, so my this button should react into the function remove. In the same way, I'm gonna create the other buttons, backspace, modulo, and division. So and for my backspace, so and I'm gonna write a function for this backspace. So here I'm not writing anything because I'm gonna use the icon font or some icons for here, which I'm gonna show you soon. And for my backspace, so this one is oh, this one is okay, modulo. This one is division. Okay. So what we need to do now is we would see how to download the font awesome. So coming back to this website font awesome here, so here we could see that we have so many free icons which we could use. So first of all, how are we gonna download the folder where we could use all these things? So I'm gonna go to start. I'm gonna move to download. So here, as I have already downloaded it, I'm getting this option. You have downloaded a copyright, where you could click this download font awesome free for the web. Here you could see that you're gonna have a zip folder of font awesome, which you would, if you would open, you could see that you're having these folders inside it. If you would open the CSS, we are going to access this particular file, all.css, in our file HTML. So we are gonna go move to our HTML. If I'm like, so in our HTML, here I would be using the link. For my link, so I have put that particular font awesome folder in my basic calculator folder. So now I would be accessing that here, the font awesome, and then CSS, and then all.css. From this, I can access the icons now from my font awesome website. If I would go and search for the icons, so first of all, what we need to have is a backspace button. So what I need to do is just search for the backspace button in my website. So I have to go to the search icon and the backspace. If I would just search backspace, you could see that I'm able to find this button over here, and I would just go here and just click start using this icon, and this website would give me the HTML code for this particular icon, which I'll be just copying and pasting it in my HTML code just the way you can see here. And you could see that we already got our thing backspace, which you could see that we already got this button. In the same way, if you are having different things, like if we move to modulo, maybe percentage, so this button usually what it does is like it calculates the percentage. If I'll be like 6%, it would give me what is 6%, which is if we see our percentage button over here, which is like if I put 8% and equals to, it would give me what is 8 percentile sometime, 8 percentile, and then if I would just like put this, so it's gonna remove everything on the input button. So now we have our backspace already, which we could see here, and then we need our percentage button. So this one is percentage, and then I will be using this icon here. So just copy paste here, and right now, so you could see that we already got a percentage icon over here. In the same way, we need a division. So divide. Here you could see that we got a icon, which we are going to use on our HTML. Start using this icon. It's the same way, it's actually very easy. You just need to know how you could like download the font or some folder, then everything would be easy. So we already got 4 of our buttons, and next I'm gonna go for my next row, which is this, the numbers 7, 8, 9, and this one. So I'm gonna create a button which would be on click, which would follow my calc. I will show you how. I'm just writing down the functions now. I will show you how these functions will react and calculate the input, the operations in our input button. So this one would be 7. In the same way, 8, 9, and then 8, 9, and then this one would be another icon. And actually this one is multiplication, so I would just use the function mul over here, and this one would be an icon. So here we could see that we are having, oh, we did a mistake over here. Shit, it's actually a table row that we need to include, and it's a table data. So this one would go here, and this one is table data, this one too,
this one too. So I'm just gonna arrange this actually. I did a mistake by not including the table data. So I think it's good now. Is it the same thing with the previous one? Because I'm saying, yeah, it's the same thing actually. I included a row here, so that's why I wasn't getting this one. Okay, this one too. And this one too. Now I think there won't be any mistake. Yeah, now it's correct. Yeah, that's why I was wondering, like, why is it coming in a column? Yeah, now it's perfect. Please check if you're having any error. Maybe this one could be the error in the table. So because you need to be very careful while writing down this table, because it's just like the TD, TR is just the same. Sometimes you might mistakenly type another thing, just as I did it now. So now, what was the last one? Oh, we need a multiplication icon. So I'm just gonna go there. It's the same procedure too for every icon. Multiply. Oh, maybe cross. Yep, here it is, times. So I'm gonna use this icon. Just copy paste again. Be careful while copy pasting too that you don't miss anything. Maybe here. Yep. Yep, we also got our multiplication operator. So next, in the same way, we had to go 4, 5, 6 and minus operator. So I'm just gonna copy paste this completely. Gonna just create some space. Okay, so it will be, what was it? 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. And this one would be a minus operator. I think I just need to change here fa times minus. We'll just check if it works. I think minus is an icon too. How about if I put it as minus? See, we already got it. Like it's the same thing, but we need to know if there's a name for this one. If I go to the font awesome and just look at it, minus over here. So we got the minus over here. And if I just see the HTML code for this one, it's the same thing as the previous one. It's just the name has changed, fa-minus. So that's what we did too. And so we got our next row too. And then moving on to the next row. So we have 4, 5, 6. I think it would be 1, 2, 3, and maybe the addition one. So I'm just gonna copy paste again. And since for every numbers the function would be same, so 1, 2, 3, and then this one would be, is it add? No, it's not add. Maybe addition? No, it's still not addition. What is it? It's not addition too. Whoa. Okay, what's the... I forgot the icon of addition actually. Maybe, oh, there's another term, right? Plus, maybe plus. Oh yeah, it's plus actually. So what we need to do is just add maybe plus over here. if we just add plus, maybe plus. Yeah, it works perfectly now. So we already got everything, maybe just the last one, the decimal, the 0 and the equal to sign. So we just have 3 for this one. I'm gonna just do the same thing, copy paste. So it's gonna be decimal 0. So I don't have this one. And here it will be equals. And the icon maybe equal to, no, equals. Oh yeah, equals. Oh, perfect. Oh my god, I didn't expect that. Okay, so it's equals. So, and but I'm gonna put it at a column space called spans of 2 because I have two things and I'm gonna define it for 2. So I'm gonna style it for the next 2 columns in my CSS. So we already got everything as per our calculator. So now I'm gonna move to my app.js to define the operations which we need in our calculator. Coming to JavaScript, the first thing I would like to access from my HTML code is my input field, which you could see here, because I would like to operate it on the basis of the other key functions. So I would like to see if I define any class. Did I? No. So I would just define a class here that I could access in my app.js class with the name result. So here I'm gonna, and we have two different things to define our variable in ES6, which is let and constant. And the constant is a variable which doesn't change any value at any circumstance once it is defined. And let can change even on the basis of if I'm defining it for the first time and later on I define it with another value, it would take the another value. So since our input field changes here based on different key functions, we are going to use let, not the constant. So it would be I'm defining a variable result and I'm accessing my HTML with the DOM thing, query selector. And since I'm using a class, it would be dot. The class name for the input field is result. And this dot here defines that I'm accessing a class. If it was hash, it means that I'm accessing the ID of the particular element. So, and since I'm accessing the class, I'm using dot. So now here you see that here, if I want to know if I access the value of the result, I could just go to my console and to my web and I could just press Ctrl Shift plus J as it's Windows. I'm opening my console for this one, and if I'm like giving it the input any value of maybe 5, and if I want to see that my app.js is accessing this value, I would first of all look what my variable result is having. It's just result. So I'm accessing this particular input field actually in my result, so I should get this input in my result. So let's see if I'm able to access the HTML. Oh, result is not defined at autonomous. Why? I just defined query selector class result. Oh, we are not able to access result. Why? Oh shit, I forgot to actually access my app.js. Such an idiot. I just need to add my script to my HTML file too. So app.js now, and also did I even link my styles? Oh, I don't think so. Oh no, I didn't link my styles too. I would be getting an error there too. And I would spend the whole day to see that where was the error. So I have like styles.js. Okay. So now let's move on to our app.js and see if we are having an error or anything. If we could, first of all, I need to see if I'm able to access my result. Let's see if I'm like, okay, we just got our input of our HTML, so we are able to access. For checking if I'm like just giving the input a value, and let's access the value by just result.value. Okay, now let's see. Here you could see that we got our value, so we just gave our file the value. So here you could also see that it's a string. It's not a number, it's a string actually, because here we have a type of text instead of number. I'm gonna tell you like why we are using the string right now, because we are gonna have every operations in our like with the strings. So we are able to access the DOM, the HTML code in our app.js. Now moving on. So moving on, I'm able to do the first thing. So the second thing which I need to do is like I need to define my this button, which would remove my whenever I press this on click, this function should work. So I need to mention it in my. So now I'm using the remove function because it will be acting the same for everything. It doesn't go like that. So if I'm using the arrow function, so you need to see the syntax of arrow functions for this one. So it's REMV. Oh no, I'm being very careful in order not to make any mistakes. So what we want is whenever we are having this function, we want the result.value is equal to 0. Whenever we are having we are clicking this function, we want the result.value is equal to 0. So let's check if I'm having the maybe the input something as like maybe 100 some number, and if I just click this button, I should like remove this number and it should be defaulted to 0. It's working perfectly. So whenever I click this button, we should have 0. Now the next thing to do is like to show the backspace button. So here we would be using the string. So if I'm mentioning the function backspace, okay, it's backspace. Okay, so now if I define the function like maybe value, or wait, result.value. So what I need to do is like if I'm having a number of 4, 5, 6 and I press backspace, 6 should go off. It's like, but it's a string. So what I need to do is, if I'm having a string of 4, 5, 6, I need to take out this one. I need to use the substring function where I would be accessing the 4, 5 and take off the 6. So which would be like, I would be using it from my 0 to my 4. I have to remove the last one. It means I have to remove the length minus 1, which is like 0, 1, 2 minus 1, which would remove this index. So I would do length minus 1. So let's see if we are getting 4, 5. Oh wow, so we got our 4, 5. So we could use this in our calculator for our backspace button function too. So and our result.value is equal to, we're going to follow the same thing as we did there. Instead of 4, 5, 6, it's our result.value function. So result.value.substring, I'm going to start it at 0 to my index of my last one, or my result.value dot length minus 1. So let's see if you're getting 4, 5, 6. See, here we could see that we could do the backspace now. So it's very easy actually. It's just, and also I need not do this. I could just maybe do this. Yeah, I need not do everything. But it doesn't look good as it's if it was like just a one line word, it would look good, but not now. But yeah, it's perfect now. So we are done with our second thing too. Now coming to our third, which is actually percentage. Am I right with the spelling and everything? Percentage. Okay. So what I want to do in the percentage is like, if I'm having some 6, and when I click percentage, it should have percentage here, and then when I click equal, it should have 0.06, which is 6 by 100. So if I'm having like, for my results.value, I should include my result.value plus percentage. If you're not able to understand these things, it's the same as I wrote result.value plus it's the same thing. You could see I wrote it in the shortcut, which is actually called a shortcut. I don't know why people like complicate it. It's actually very easy. It's just I'm using adding the same term with this one.
So we are able to add our percentage to our number 2 if I'm like having 6, and if I'm pressing this, we could see that we are having it as 6 percentage. So while after pressing this equal button, it should come as 0.06, which we will do it later. So we will be going step by step, so be patient please. And then we are gonna move to our next step, division, which is the same. If I'm like having constant div, it's div, okay. So what I need to do is like I need to add something like a result dot value plus equal to that. I just need to add that. It's a single thing. Why do I need to do? So just don't make it complicated. It's very easy. Just like we are defining functions over here. It's constant. So we have defined like we are true. So if I'm like having 4, and if I'm like doing this, you could see that we already have our division function. If I press this, it goes off everything. Now coming off to our next, I want to define everything here, the division, multiplication, subtraction, and addition. So first we are going to do that. It's the same thing for everything, just add up everything. So it would be like addition of, this one be multiplication, which I would add a hashtag, like asterisk for this one, whatever it is said. For the subtraction function, I would add minus. Is it sub? Did I write sub for that? Why am I having 2 mul? 4, 5, 6. 6, one should have minus, or maybe sub. Okay. This one's, and the last one, is it having mul? Oh, okay, it's add. Oh wow, I would do another error. So I already got this one now. Now I'm moving on to add, and it should have, if you could just see, if I'm having 5, if I'm adding any, maybe or this or anything like minus, yep, or maybe, oh, I'm not having the functions right. Okay, maybe plus. So I'm getting everything.
So what I need to, so we already covered this entire, the first row and the last column. So what we need to do is like regarding the numbers and the decimal. So for that, what is our function to so calculate numbers? So what we need is to, whenever we are like pressing any of this number, whenever we are clicking any of these numbers, what we want is to like add those numbers in this result. Like if I'm already having something like 5 and I press this button add and I press 8, so we are already having 5 plus and we just need to add 8 to it. So it's the same thing as this one. If so, here our function is calc. Is it calc? Yeah, it's calc. So what we want to have, and we are having a value for this one, and what we want to add is our value to the same. Like we already had like just like 5 plus, so we already have this 5 plus here, and we are adding this value which we'll be clicking. So right now I define this function. If you could just see, I need to have 8 there. Oh, I'm not having it. Is it calc? Oh, it's actually 7. Wow. Oh, I need to like do this as single because it. I need to give the values. Oh my god. Another errors. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. I think I'm done now. I'm 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Oh, also the decimal and the 0. Where's decimal? Yep. So decimal, I'm adding decimal for this one, and the number 0 is just 0. So I think it's okay, perfect now. So if I'm having 5 plus, I need to get 8 now. Oh, it's value. It's not a string. I'm having the string. Okay, now we don't have any errors as far as I know. 5 plus 8. Oh my god, come on, we got it now. Okay, so I think it's working now perfectly. Everything's working except we need to like add some JavaScript to this one, the equal sign. So equals. So first of all, I would like you to know the evaluate function for any string. If I'm having like any function inside my input like 5 plus 8, and what my JavaScript function evaluate does, if I'm having this, is like it gives me 13 for even the string functions. So if I'm like having anything like maybe divided by 2 or plus 3, 4, yeah, minus 3. So this will do everything, the evaluate function, except for the percentile function. It doesn't do for the percentile. So if I'm having 5 percentile, it doesn't calculate because it's not, the percentile doesn't come under this one. So we are gonna write everything for everything else. We are gonna have 1, and only if it includes percentile, we are gonna have the other function. So we are gonna have if and else over here. So if my input includes the percentile, it's gonna act in a different way. If it doesn't include, if it's gonna act in a different way. So here, so here again, you need to know this function called includes. If my result dot value dot includes my percentile, so what I need to do is I have to take the, first of all, so for my thing, I need to use actually the result dot value dot. So if I'm having something like 6 percentile, what I need to know is like I need to have the number until only 6. I need to access this number and then I will divide it by 100, but it's also in string. So what I need to do is like, first of all, I would convert it into integer, which I could do by parse integer. If I'll be like just having parse integer, it converts my string to integer 6. So what I would be having is like I could have parse integer on this one. If I'm having something at 6 percentage or something, I'm gonna use the parse integer and then I'm gonna divide it by 100 and I'm gonna make it into string again. Convert it into string again by using the function toString. And I'm gonna put it back in this function, result.value. I think that's perfect now. Let's just check once. If I'm having 6 percentile includes 0.06. Here it is, like you're able to see that it's changing. So else, if it doesn't include that, then my result.value would be just evaluate of my result.value. Okay, I think like I'm like here we are done with our calculator. Now I'm gonna check if everything's working. If I'm having 586 divided by 2 equals to 293. Okay, if I'm pressing this, it goes back to 0. And if I'm doing this, that 0 goes off too. If like 1.5 multiplied by 3 equals to 4.5, perfect. And if I'm doing this, it goes back. And okay, 8 percentage 0.08, okay, perfect. And if I'm like 6 plus 8 minus 4 into 7 divided by 2. Okay, you need to do this on your own. So I'm just saying, oh, it's 0? Well, I didn't expect that. Okay, maybe we'll do something else like 7 divided by 2. Okay, 3.5. And if I just like maybe 7 into 8 into 6, just that's it. Okay, 336. Yeah, everything's working perfectly now. So we are done with our JavaScript 2 and HTML 2. Now the last thing, styling. So it's actually very easy to style now. So we could move on to our styles.css. So coming to our CSS, we are gonna do the same thing. Box sizing should be border box. I'm gonna use the border box, not the content box, because whenever I'm having something limited in my box and if I'm increasing the content size, the box would I don't want the box size to increase. So that's why I'm using the border box, so the content would adjust on its own inside the box content. So coming to our body, what do we want? Like maybe, okay, first of all, I'd do the display flags, and I would just everything in the center in the horizontal way, which I could do by justify center, and then for the vertically, as I told in my last lecture, even if I put it as center now, it won't change, but because I need to define the minimum height for this one, which would be 100 view height, and you could see that our calculator is in the middle. So for that, to define the container now for the calculator, what I need to do is like maybe define the width first of all. So I want the width to be like 300 pixels. I think it's better to define the table rather than the container directly. Okay, and I would give a border of maybe 5 pixels, solid, black. Is that okay? Okay. Oh, we would be styling everything, so don't worry about the other things. And then if I would be just having a padding for my table of maybe 20 pixel everywhere, like left, bottom, right, top. Perfect, now it looks good, I think. And maybe a border radius too of 10 pixels. Is it okay? Maybe 15. 20 is better, I guess. Oh, 20 is perfect. So I think that's good for our table. Now I want to come back to our input. So if I define our input, first of all, I want its width to be 100%, which I already defined how it would be, so it would go till there. And I want to give a text, maybe first of all a padding of 10 pixel inside. Yep, that's perfect. And maybe margin so as to be away from the other things a little bit, maybe 10 pixel left, right, and what 10 pixel left, right, now left, right, and vertically and 0. Okay, I think that's okay. So you could see that we are slowly getting the calculator if you're like styling. And do we need the border? Border, I will define it as 0 for maybe I would take it off later.
So I'm just taking off the border as of now because I want to make it 0 at the end. And do we need anything for the input? I think that's fine. But if we are moving on to the buttons, so now we need to design the buttons. So first of all, for every button, I would like to have it a width of 70 pixels. It's perfect, right? 70 pixels is perfect, yeah. And maybe a padding of 10 pixels everywhere inside the button. Or maybe 13. 13 better? Yep, 13 is perfect, I guess, yeah. And also, do we need margin? No, I don't think so. We don't need margin. And do we need anything else? You just need to like look upon it. We also don't need the border. And the background, I want it to be transparent. Okay. So yeah, we already got this, and that's it. Maybe if I'm not putting it as transparent, or maybe it's like not border 0. Do I need anything else? I want to put this margin at like a little bit more, as 20 maybe. Yeah, 20, and also the padding as 15, because I want the input to look maybe a little bit more. And also it's like you could see here the 0 looks too small, so I want this to be padding to be 15, and I would increase the font size maybe to 32 pixels. Is 32 pixels okay? Yeah, good. And also if I'd be putting the 32 pixel for this one too, if I'm having for this one, yeah, now you could see that we are having the calculator perfect shape. So if I would take off the border for this one, okay,
Okay, now we got everything. Do we need anything else? Oh, we have the default, right? So we have everything, and then okay, we have something like when we are hovering, so we have something on the button. So whenever like I'm hovering on the button, I should have the background. First of all, the maybe the I would change this border radius here to be 50% in order to have that. Okay, now if I have this transition background color of gray, and I would just change this gray to very light. Whenever I'm hovering, you could see that I'm getting those effects. So also for this particular body background, shall I include it at the end? Let's have the suspense of this color. I would like it to have the suspense. And also when I'm selecting it, it's having some, even if I put the border as none, okay, maybe is it the outline 0. Yep, it was the outline that was actually there. So I took out the outline, and okay, and I want this effect to come slowly. Like if I'm seeing here, it's coming very slow. So it means that I have some transition in that one. So for the transition, I'm gonna put like for the background color for maybe 3 seconds. If 3 seconds fine. It's too much. Oh my god. 2, maybe 1. Okay, I think that's fine. Maybe a little bit less. 0.5, 0.75. Yeah, it's perfect now. 0.75 is perfect. Okay. And then, do we need anything else? Okay. Oh yeah, I want the font weight to be a little bit bold. Maybe bolder. Bolder. Okay. Or maybe, oh, I've just put it in the hover one. Okay, what if about if I put it here? Is it okay? I think the font size is a little bit less than this one. 32 is too much. How about 20? Maybe 25. I think 25 looks okay. 23. The 23 looks perfect now. Yeah, I think it's good. And here, I guess it's okay for the input field to be like more like left. It's okay for this one. And so we already got this one, and we want these functions to have the color of orange and also the equal to button, some transition. Okay, so did I define the, I need to define a class for this one in order to style maybe equals for the class too. Okay, so equals, if I am like accessing the class, for me to access the class here, I need to do the same thing which I said in JavaScript, like dot to access the class and hash to access the ID. So since I'm accessing the class, it's equals. It's like if since it's having like 2 columns, I would just put it as width 100% and the background color. What we have, orange, and we have the text color as white. So orange, and maybe And since it's a button too, so it was having the border radius of 50%, so I'm just removing the border radius of 0. So we could see here that, but it looks so dark, right? And I want it to be a little bit light. So if I'm just hovering on my color, so I could see that I could adjust the color variation too. So I'm just like reducing the darkness a little bit. So is it good? Yeah, it's perfect now. I think it's okay. So I'm gonna use this for all these these four too, and I think I need to use them for the color. So what about like, are they having any class or I'm just gonna define a class for these buttons over here as the symbols maybe. So add class symbol, and I'm gonna use this one for everything, maybe sub, and multiplication. I need to be careful while doing this because I make a lot of mistakes here all the time. And the division, okay, that's it. It's symbol, right? Okay, so I'm gonna use this as symbol, and what I need to do, like the color of the same, okay, it's the same color as this one. Is it okay? As you could see here, the color has changed. Yeah, it's the same, maybe a little bit less dark, or maybe if I change the background maybe. So if I'm having the background as the body, I have seen this color, so I really like this color actually. If I'm having the radial back gradient of from, this is a color code which I'm typing now. I found it somewhere. It's actually really good. And I was like doing the trial and error methods. I found this color and it's actually very good. And maybe you like it too. Let me know in the comments if you like the color. Uh, yep. And I just don't want it to be no repeat. As you could see here, we have got the same. It's just that we have a different input in the calculator. So here we could see that we don't have any background color for our input. So I'm gonna do the same for our calculator. Where's our input? Okay. So anyways, I'm gonna take off the border, and also background. It should be like transparent. Okay. So there's nothing in other background. Now what we need, also we need to align this text, like as we could see here that the text is coming on the right. So I'm gonna align the text onto our right. And since we don't have any placeholder value, if you see that we don't have any placeholder value, I'm gonna take off this placeholder value too from our input. And also I need to include the heading of table. Of maybe calculator. I didn't design this one. It was looking perfect. I didn't want to change this one. So I think it's the same right now. We designed everything, even our input. If it's like, it's having a little bit more transition, so I can't change the transmission. It depends on you if you want to change it, like maybe 1 or maybe 1 second. Yeah, it's the same now. Oh, it's actually the different one. So you could see here we are hovering and everything, and if you are working on anything like 1 divided by 2.5, and if I'm perfect, everything's working. So if you have any doubt, please post your doubt on the comment section. I would reply to you. And I will, if you want me to include anything more in my videos, please let me know. So here we are done with our simple basic calculator. It's very easy. You could see this one. I've done it in the very simple way, and you want me to so the only main problem in this one is like you need to understand, no, actually you need to know the basics of strings. Here you need to know how to like use something. I didn't use the complicated ones like the slice or the splice method in my strings. It's just that I've used the basic substring, and everything else is basic, and you need to know how to concatenate strings, and how you can like convert the strings to integers, numbers, and numbers to integers back, and also the evaluation property evaluation method, and some of the CSS like the basics, transition, hover. I didn't use any animations here. We would use animations when we go to a little bit medieval level. When we are designing a website, I'm going to use animations in that website, but right now I'm just doing the basic things. So if you like it, please like, share, and subscribe, and also please comment your doubts or anything, and please stay tuned for my next video, which I'll be posting in next 3 to 4 days, and I will go to a little bit more level, which I want to like define, like maybe a web APIs, something, but at a very basic level too. I won't like show you at an advance at the start itself. I would go slowly, but we are going to learn a lot of new things and exciting things in our next videos. Thank you for watching. Please stay tuned.